2020 presidential candidate Kamala Harris now unveiling her Medicare for All plan. It preserves a role for private insurance. Harris writing, at the end of the 10-year transition, every American will be a part of this new Medicare system. They will get insurance either through the new public Medicare plan or a Medicare plan offered by a private insurer within that system. Got that? Karl Rove interprets, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff, President George W. Bush, Fox News contributor. How you doing, Karl? Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Let's go to the whiteboard, all right? You dissected the plan. What you got?
Well, look, this is the difference between immediate end to employer-provided insurance coverage as under Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, or a nearly immediate end to employer-provided insurance under Kamala Harris. Within 10 years, she phases out employer-provided insurance. You get a new, quote, Medicare plan. There's auto-enrollment of if you're uninsured. You're automatically enrolled in the Medicare plan. So what does that mean? That means dump and run. Companies would know that within 10 years, their employer-provided insurance coverage is going to be phased out. So if they dump it within year 1 or year 2 or year 3, they remove that expense off of their books, and everybody is automatically enrolled into the new Medicare. So a lot of companies are going to say, you know what, if we're going to be dead within 10 years, we can't provide this coverage within 10 years, why not get rid of it now and everybody will be in Medicare? So what's the role of private insurance? You can augment what you get from Medicare with private insurance paid for out of your own pocket. So this is a face-saving gesture. She wants to say to people, you're not going to lose your employer-provided coverage because you're going to be able to buy your own additional coverage. But the fact of the matter is, your policy under this is going away. The question is, does it go away in year 1, 2, or 3, or does it take as many as 10 years for your employer finally to toss in the cards? Because at the end of 10 years, employer-provided coverage, as we know it today, is gone.
Okay, now that's your whiteboard. Here's the graphic in New York. Bernie Sanders versus Kamala Harris. He hits a premium on household income of $29,000. She's at $100,000. Transition period. Bernie Sanders 4 years, as you described. She's 10 years. Private insurance. Sanders is Medicare Advantage. She is Medicare certified. Above all this, what Sanders said over the weekend is that everybody's going to pay into the system. Middle-class people, rich people, everybody's going to pay more taxes. Is America ready for that? Or is a Democratic Party ready for that, knowing that you're in the thick of a primary season here?
Look, there are 3 bad things from the perspective of a lot of Americans with these Medicare for All procedures. And Harris and Sanders, both of their plans have the same problems. First of all, it's the end of employer-provided health and coverage. You lose your policy. Second of all, there will be lots of wait times and delays in getting both to see a doctor and then having a procedure. That's the experience of every other country that has, in essence, government-run single-payer health care. And finally, we got to pay for it. And rather than it now being paid for by businesses, it's now going to be paid for by our general tax system, which is heavily loaded on the personal income tax. There's no way to pay for this simply by tackling billionaires and millionaires. Bernie Sanders is right. If you're going to have this kind of a system, you're going to have a big middle-class tax increase, and none of those 3 things are attractive to many Americans.
We have a second whiteboard here. I think the count earlier today was 107. Chad Pergram says it's 108 among Democrats who favor going forward on impeachment. Another whiteboard. Show us what you've got.
Well, first of all, 108 of 235 Democrats have now supported impeachment. Now, they need to get to 218 if they were going to operate in the normal way. The normal way is that the House of Representatives votes an impeachment resolution authorizing the Judiciary Committee to proceed. Now, that's not going to happen, if at all, soon. You've got 108 Democrats and one Republican who are in favor of impeachment. But, and here's where the whiteboard is, on the House Judiciary Committee, Democrats, 15 of 24 have come out explicitly in favor of proceeding on impeachment. 16 if you include the chairman, Jerry Nadler, who I think is very clear that he wants to proceed with impeachment proceedings. So what's going to happen is they're not going to go the normal route. The House Judiciary Committee is not going to say we've been authorized by a vote of a majority of the members of the House of Representatives. They're simply going to proceed on an impeachment inquiry, an impeachment investigation on their own, and hope that by doing so, they will cause another 100 Democrats and Republicans combined to join in providing 218 votes to pass an impeachment resolution, which means that Nancy Pelosi is not going to have total control over this. There's constantly going to be stuff coming out of the Judiciary Committee on, quote, impeachment, that's going to drown out the message of the rest of the Democrat in the House and drown out, to some degree, the message of Democrats running for president. This is not good for the vision of the Democratic House majority that Nancy Pelosi has.
Okay, all right, John Ratcliffe will be the next head of DNI. He was with Maria on Sunday before all the news broke. Here's how he's framing the Mueller hearing that we all went through. And to your question on this, watch here.
The same folks that promised that there was going to be impeachment by collusion, you know, that died when the Mueller report came out and said there was no collusion or conspiracy. Then they shifted to it was going to be impeachment by obstruction of justice, that Robert Mueller was going to breathe life into the report. Instead, he sucked the life out of it. It's becoming a joke. I think people see that, and Nadler and Schiff are starting to look more like Laurel and Hardy. It's time to move on.
Okay, so maybe easier said than done based on, you know, your analysis there, Karl.
Well, no, it's going to continue to happen. Let's you know, the chairman of the Democratic majority on the House Judiciary Committee is going to ensure that it happens, and so will a lot of people on the left of the Democratic Party. But its chances of succeeding are, as I think, as Congressman Radcliffe suggested, slim and none, and it doesn't embolden, and I mean, it doesn't heighten and raise up the prospects of Nadler and Schiff in the public mind. But the public is against this. The latest Washington Post ABC poll found that 63% of Americans oppose an impeachment investigation, 33% support it. Last year, August of last year, it was 49-47. So there's been the Mueller report basically killed the chances of the Democrats,
How about this?
in my mind, pushing this through.
Did you see Mulvaney on Fox News Sunday? You were there.
I happened to be there in the studio watching him.
Did you see the point he made about Nadler being primaried in a deep, deep blue district? And her name is Lindsey Boylan. Apparently she's doing well. I don't know how to characterize that, but just seeing some of the reports. He's making the point that Nadler's afraid of being the next AOC in Congress. And all these districts around New York are starting to see this. How do you view it, Karl?
Well, I think it's not just New York. Take the Democratic chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, who is being primaried from the left as well, because he, in the view of some so-called Justice Democrats, the followers of AOC, has not moved aggressively enough on the question of getting Donald Trump's tax returns. So look, we don't need to sort of you know, prognosticate about this. All we need to do is go and look at the words of AOC's chief of staff, who says we're going to primary. We Justice Democrats are going to find challengers to a lot of these establishment, centrist, liberal Democrats who are not followers of our agenda. So this is a real deal
then, right? So if Nadler, if Nadler's thinking, tell me if you agree with this or not, that he's got to go this way, otherwise he is under a true challenge or a true threat in his home district.
Well, I think I'd have a slightly more nuanced view of it. I think Nadler supports impeachment, and yes, does he understand that if he were to oppose impeachment, it would hurt him in his Manhattan district? Absolutely. But I think he actually believes in it. The question is going to be, do people think that he's moving as fast and as aggressively as he should? We have Tom Steyer out there, who's now running for president, but is spending tens of millions of dollars to push Democrats on this impeachment question. And he has cadres of supporters all across the country who are being heard from by Democrats back home who say, you know, I'm not necessarily in favor of impeachment. I live in a purple district that could swing either way, but I got a left-wing flank that's beat me up pretty badly that if I don't come out for impeachment, they're likely to challenge me. How successful they are, we don't know. They won't be necessarily very successful, but all it takes is a little bit of a chance of being successful to cause a lot of Democrats to say, I better fall in line.
We'll see whether or not this plays a role during these debates this week as well. Thank you, sir. Nice to see you. Karl Rove in Austin, Texas. Thanks.